if we get a ceasefire, we could squarely identify. We could put the target. Which
throw up
is
that
the
rock. Throw it up.
No,
throw it up. Do it the fuck up. Do it. If you throw it up, it's okay.
I'll throw the rock too.
It's okay.
Act, don't get mad at me. But when I was really trying to suck in, pause.
Hey, no Diddy, man. No Diddy.
What was going on in this interview, and I was assessing it, and I was breaking down my feelings on this, I kept coming back to, and I think Joe even said something like this on Clubhouse today, Joe Budden, that Charlamagne, over the years, he's gotten better at his craft. And watching this interview and this face-off or this debate, it just felt like Charlamagne was Michael Jordan, Tom Brady. I know I sound like I'm glazing. And Ak, look, Ak is not some rookie at this who hasn't been proven. He's almost like an Anthony Edwards, right? A star, a baller. But you can still look at him and say, you know, then they got 50 baby mamas and he paying out $100 million. He's so young and naive that he makes certain mistakes. And by the way, Ak, when I'm saying this is the same thing that you say about Charlamagne. And why you say he's your idol, you looked up to him, he gave you your first interview and all of that other stuff. Everything I'm saying is why you look up to Charlamagne. Okay? And that's how this felt. The first point I'll point out to this is Akademiks. He always felt like he was on the offensive. He felt like he was real energetic. He felt like, you know, it was almost like he was always pacing and like trying to stay moving and, you know, very energetic, yelling. And do I think, you know, Ak was out of character? No, I think he was passionate. But when you sitting down to somebody who's very calm, they staying on the same point, it can come off a way to a certain audience. And I want to start it off with this.
Should have been so.
I could be completely wrong. You sound manic. You sound paranoid. I'm not even joking. Like, you sound manic and paranoid, bro.
Yo,
like,
no.
You see what I'm saying? And this is after 2 hours of Ak, you know, kind of talking loud, but Charlamagne is laid back. His demeanor is very calm. He doesn't seem like he's grasping for anything. You could tell that Charlamagne knew what he wanted to say. I feel like Charlamagne might have rehearsed this, but it still came off as natural, but he knew his talking points. And I'm sure Akademiks did the same thing. It was just like, but how long do you study this? Do you sit down with a team? Even when we watching this interview, right? And Charlamagne kept asking Akademiks, why would you sit down with the Roc Nation lawyers during the deposition by yourself? But to me, that was also Charlamagne letting us know, I do everything with a team. And when Charlamagne was speaking in this interview, it sounded like he sat down with his team and he knew exactly what he was gonna say. And also, by the way, I don't want to make it seem like Charlamagne's the only good guy in this conversation. It was a lot of times, especially in the beginning, where it felt like that Spider-Man meme where they was pointing at each other for things that they both do, right? We got to a point where both of them didn't want to give up sources. To me, both of them could have moments in their career where they weren't telling the audience the full truth in every detail. So that back and forth of the conversation, to me, I felt like it went nowhere, because in this media game, everybody tries to protect themselves to a certain degree. So at times, Charlamagne was saying, well, you did this and you did that. And Akademiks was saying the same thing to him. Well, you did this and you did that. And it was like a stalemate. I will say Akademiks, he held his own when it seemed like Charlamagne was trying to accuse him of doing the same stuff that Charlamagne does himself. All right. But when we go back to just me saying Charlamagne's composure throughout the conversation, even sometimes exerting his dominance, like I'm the big bro, when he has moments where it's like, oh, I'm gonna drop a jewel, like right here.
How much? All right, let me ask you a
Plenty
question.
of broke people can sue you.
Let me ask you a question. Whether defendant or even if you were going at somebody, because I was just about to sue somebody for defamation. Lawyer flat out told me, "Are you committed at least $100K with this?"
And you know why? Because you're a public figure. And by the way, you'd look crazy suing somebody for defamation.
Not really.
Because you go crazy on people.
If
like somebody can say that you defame folks every day.
Let me ask you a question. So if someone came out and blatantly called you,
and also this is where I'm talking about Charlamagne is polished, because back in the day, sniffing farts on the chair, Charlamagne, he didn't care about stuff like that. Now you can tell every time he speaks, he's like, oh no, I know the ins and out of this industry. I know what I can do and what I can't say, the stuff that'll get me in trouble, the stuff that'll get my business, iHeart, in trouble. He's gone through those motions. And this is another conversation where I'm like, oh, I can see that. I can see the polishedness of a Charlamagne, where it's like versus an Akademiks. And also I think sometimes with in a conversation like this, he suffers because he does everything so much like an independent route, where he has the guys on the internet who help him with Instagram posts and stuff like that, and they bring him dirt and all that type of stuff. But for the most part, he kind of does everything himself until he gets to something where he has to film something, like stuff where he need a cameraman and, you know, a crew to help him record something. Okay, he'll use people for that. And I think he does have an assistant. But other than that, he does a lot more himself than other entities in this business, like a Charlamagne the God or anybody else in media, a Joe Budden. Like all of these people, they have teams. Ak is pretty much, I'm the guy. I kind of give all the advice. I give all the direction. Even somebody like Joe, he has, I forget the white guy behind the scenes, but that's kind of like his right hand man. And, you know, he can talk to the people on the podcast. He can talk to Queen's Flip. He can talk to Mark LaMahill, Ish, and all them other dudes and give them direction. Actually, it's somebody else that people can go to other than Joe. You see what I'm saying? When it's stuff with Akademiks, they have to go to Akademiks. There's no other guy that I think Akademiks trusts his whole business and his empire with. And I could see that, you know, coming out in this conversation too. And this is what I mean when I'm talking about dropping jewels. Listen to this. This is I'm the big brother, I'm about to teach you something moment, right?
But that's how all of y'all should think. Every single blogger with a platform, anybody that, you know, discusses things for a living, you should really think that, one day that person might get fed up. I think that sometimes not just you, but just bloggers in general, think that they're always gonna be the bigger person and they got better things to do. One day they just might be like, fuck it. When you got fucking money. And then what I see a lot of times is that's when everybody starts playing the victim. And I'm just like, no, you know what you said. Now, you know how you was moving.
Now, I also wanted to give Charlamagne a little bit of credit for this, because I like when people take their own advice. So it's a little bit further when Ak started pressing him. And that's another thing, like when Ak start playing that full press defense, you know, that defense where they all in your face, they're not giving you no room to breathe. Charlamagne does what any trained media person should do, and this is it.
Desiree Perez been ducking every deposition. She ducking one versus her daughter. There's like 5 others. She don't want to sit down.
I don't know nothing about none of that shit.
It's like, you know these people until I ask you a real question about it.
I don't know anything about any of this shit you talking about.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. For years, Charlamagne said, hey, if we ask you a question, say next question, say I don't know, say I don't want to answer it. And here he is doing it himself. Hey, if you try to back me up into a situation where I might not want to speak on it, I give any type of opinion, hey, I don't know. I don't know what the F you talking about. What are you talking about? Because see, the thing is, in that moment, Ak isn't going to say, you know what, until you answer X, Y, and Z, this conversation is not going to move forward. Because number 2, this is content. They both want to put this up on their channel. Charlamagne put this up on his channel too. So it's not going to be a stalemate in the conversation. So Charlamagne can say, I don't know, and the conversation will continue. And he don't have to dive deep into explaining this or explaining that. Also, when we looking at these clips again, who is the one who's kind of talking a little louder, and who's the one, even with body language, like I've been studying people's body language. Charlamagne the whole time, he's sitting back in the seat. Akademiks is leaning forward. Like he trying to get into something. Charlamagne is like, oh, I'm relaxed. I can do this all day. Charlamagne sitting up here like this is an episode of Brilliant Idiots. A point I saw Charlamagne continuously trying to get across was, at least in the beginning when they was talking about this gotcha moment from Akademiks, where he revealed that Charlamagne was on this list with Jay-Z, Roc Nation to try to open up this casino in New York. But the casino never happened, and you saw Charlamagne leaning on that, which was, okay, if the casino never happened, it wasn't really worth me going into detail about. Now, if it opened up and I was starting to make money, maybe I would have spoke on it. If you ask me, I think Charlamagne, he still would have tried to stay a silent partner for as long as he could. And it wasn't silent too, because I don't want to even say silent when it's a public document that Akademiks can go to a website and find it. It's not like Charlamagne's name was redacted. It was Leonard Calvi or whatever his last name is. You saw Charlamagne's name on the document. But I still think if the casino happened, he wouldn't have been screaming, letting everybody know what the details was. I think he would have still tried to keep it low key. But at the end of the day, he's still speaking from facts.
You said everything except the Jay-Z casino
Because
thing.
there's no casino. And by the way, you saw me publicly advocating for it. You said it. I'm at town hall meetings. There's plenty of, there's so many articles that came out before this week. Me and Fat Joe at town hall meetings going back and forth with people about the casino. We're at Manhattan Plaza Center doing community events, trying to get people to, be open to a casino coming to Times Square. Like all of this has been public record.
And also, it's multiple times in this conversation where it just looks like Ak doesn't know how business works. Even Ak said this himself. Everybody kept telling me it was obvious that Charlamagne was working with Roc Nation. And you see Charlamagne saying, yeah, me and Fat Joe was here and I was going to this place to lobby for this. Basically, he had been supporting a casino the whole time. The people who had been watching the situation, you might not have known the exact details of what Charlamagne was doing with Roc Nation or what particular business they had in store, but it was obvious that they had some type of connection. We see Akademiks doing a stream like, I'm crying. I never could have thought that it could be my media idol. Hold on. You telling us that you DJ Akademiks and you've been in this for, over a decade, and when you saw Charlamagne's name on that paperwork, that shocked you? I think I said this in my video, like, bro, we all knew they had something going on. And even in this conversation, Charlamagne is saying, we had that one particular thing that we was doing, but I've always said I looked up to Jay-Z, which is true. If you ever watched The Breakfast Club, you've heard Charlamagne speak highly of Jay-Z, Beyonce, and the whole team over there. None of this stuff is new. That's why I also see some people watching this and they like, it was a waste of time. I really didn't care that much. Cause a piece of me felt like too, when I'm watching this, was y'all adding some spice to it so y'all could get to this interview and it could be a big interview, right?
I'm in the room.
Desiree, come on in.
No, it's public. I was in the room.
Yeah, but I'm pretty. Other conversations happened before that.
I was
a
around for a lot of conversations
that were private.
Yes, even some private ones.
So you work for them then?
No.
How do you? It's not like you're saying.
You do know me and Nessa and Colin were like this at one point.
Okay, so it's their fault.
All I'm simply saying is,
Charlotte, you can't be counting this one. You gotta pick it.
I'm saying
they've been vocal this week too.
Yes, and if you ask me, Jay-Z didn't snake them. That's my personal.
So they're
opinion.
idiots.
What? Who said that?
Well, they feel the exact opposite. So it's either they didn't do something. There's no way nobody's at fault.
This conversation felt like Charlamagne trying to explain to Akademiks, bro, I'm Charlamagne. I've been in this industry for a long time. I have connections. People know me. I've ran into people. I'm not this guy that's behind the keyboard all day, getting on camera, gossiping. I'm Charlamagne. I'm out in the field. People know me. I'm doing business. Once again, some of these conversations felt like don't understand business, don't understand networking. It was multiple times, and this could be manipulation by Charlamagne. Charlamagne could really be an op to Akademiks, but I'm saying what I saw on screen. It looked like Charlamagne was really trying to be Ak's friend. And it was multiple times, it just looked like Ak was just smacking Charlamagne's hand out. I don't need you. I don't need your help. Even going back to this Manic situation.
People that say,
I would not speak from my perspective on Manic. How would Dame speak from his perspective, he's Manic? How would Nicki speak from her perspective, he's Manic? Okay, do you think Drake is Manic?
I haven't heard Drake say nothing.
Okay, so all right, so now you're backtracking.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You just named 3 people who sound manic as fuck.
And this is another part where it's like, yeah, you know how many people are saying Dame look crazy? You know how many people are saying Nicki looks crazy? Ak. These are not people you should be trying to align yourself with. And this is where I get confused with Ak, because does Akademiks feel like he's going against Roc Nation for the people? Does Nicki Minaj feel like she's going against Jay-Z and Roc Nation for the people? Because look, take the Target situation out of it, right? When people talk about Jay-Z and Roc Nation, it's usually celebrities and very rich people talking about their issues with a big corporation. The people aren't rappers. The people haven't got record contracts. The people aren't losing royalty checks. We trying to get a royalty check. We trying to get money that's even similar to some money that some of these people have gotten for a record contract. So I always wonder, does Akademiks and Nicki Minaj and all of these people who have an issue with Roc Nation, do you feel like you're doing this for the people, or is this just rich people squabbles? And I get it. Maybe these situations can affect a new up and coming artist, but everybody's not trying to be an artist. Some people just trying to put food on the table. But going back to my original statement, yeah, Ak is aligning himself now with Dame and Akademiks. But going back to my original statement, this is Ak aligning himself with Nicki Minaj and Dame Dash, 2 people who are getting crucified from anybody with a brain cell, who are saying they look nuts. Remember, Dame Dash was the guy who said all the stuff he's doing now was corny. Okay? Y'all gotta remember who Dame was. Chatty Patty, all of that stuff. He invented Chatty Patty. Now he's one of the biggest Chatty Patties. Nicki Minaj said podcasting was corny. Now she basically doing the podcast every time she speak to Erica Kirk, every time she getting on her little spaces. All of these people are doing all of the things that they said was corny. The hypocrites.
All right, so people around Little Baby that like him,
Okay.
are gonna feel a way about that and want to do some wild shit.
Yeah,
That's my point is, why provoke things like that? That's totally different than Lil Baby's music is whack.
that 2 things can be true.
That's completely different, and that's what I've always tried to get you to avoid. I picked up the phone. I remember one time picking up the phone and saying, "Ak, yo, you go too hard on women, yo. Don't." And I literally said, "Don't make the same mistakes that I made."
And you see right there, multiple times where Charlamagne is saying, I've hit you up and I've tried to guide you in a way to avoid certain things that I had to go through. it was a time where everybody said Charlamagne was pressing females when they came to the Breakfast Club. He was making people like Lil Mama cry. If a girl came up to the Breakfast Club, he was gonna try to make them cry. And he's like, yo, Ak, I've hit you up and tried to tell you to do the opposite of me. I've tried to be your friend. And if you watching that, you thinking to yourself, well, damn, maybe Charlamagne is your friend. And with Ak trying to be so loyal to this Grand Wizard guy, I do have to ask myself, well, maybe it's not so much that he's being loyal to him, but we don't know whatever situation that they got going on over in Akademiks camp, where Akademiks is getting paid off of all of this stuff. Now we looking at OVO chains flying around and stuff like that. I don't know what type of money Ak is making to where he like, you know what? The money, allegedly, the money might be so good for Akademiks right now. Fuck Charlamagne. Fuck that friendship. That might be a situation that Ak is in right now. That might be what's going on. So I have to look at it from that perspective too. And that's why I kept saying, we got to look at this conversation and take it as face value. From face value, it seemed like Charlamagne was kind of having a mature conversation and Akademiks was trying to have a conspiracy conversation. He was trying to talk. And look, I get it. It's people all over the internet who say Roc Nation is this and Jay-Z is that. But even somebody like a Jaguar Wright, who is crazy, right? But the details that she puts into her reasons for having an issue with Roc Nation, they're way more detailed than this situation you see with Ak. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like Ak is coming into a lane where it's not even his niche. You know what I mean? Like, this whole thing with Roc Nation, this not even his bag like that. But when you go watch the people who really get into that Roc Nation, it's this, that, and the third, they got all these stories and details and they can talk for 2 hours straight about this stuff, where Ak is like, well, they tried to do something with a deposition and they mad because I said this about Megan Thee Stallion and Milagro. His conversation set pieces for this stuff, it's not as vast as the people who really is like, no, Roc Nation is my enemy. And that's another thing. It feels like Ak is trying to pick up on this and trying to get some of those viewers into his shit now, where it's like, let me get the people who hate Jay-Z, let me get the people who hate Roc Nation, and let me bring them to Akademiks, because he got a big voice. But I don't know if his grievances against Roc Nation is really appealing to that audience, unless you just somebody who just want to pile on Jay-Z and want to pile on Roc Nation. Okay, so that's pretty much all I got for this. Still love Ak, still inspiration to me. But that's just what I got from this back and forth. That was 2 hours. Y'all tell me what y'all thought about this in the comments, okay? Who do y'all think won? This was some sort of a debate, and I just think Charlamagne is very polished in this department. And Ak, you know, he looks good. He done lost some weight, but yeah, he's more comfortable when he's at the crib in front of the microphone, in front of the camera. You see what I'm saying? So let me know. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.